Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Very interesting news, and we find that Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, engages his country in direct democracy, which he's going to organize a opinion poll on an issue, and what he does, he's going to be putting Ukrainian nation to choose and give its opinion what they want to do regarding something that comes from Brussels. So he's not going to determine anything. Let me read you the article. Associated Press reported on September 22nd, 2022, Hungary to poll public on support for EU sanctions on Russia. So from here you know everything you need to know. So Viktor Orban organizes a poll, a public poll, and he's going to ask, hey guys, we are the mighty Hungarian nation, Hungarian tribe. Let's make a decision. Do you guys agree with the Brussels sanctions of Russia or no? And I'm probably going to make the decision you want me to make. And based on that, you got only two options, right? Agree or disagree. So let's say they agree. All right, then he's doing it for the country. And then they say, see, you choose. We're going to get to the sanctions. And when you're going to get hurt, it's going to be you. So he just absolves himself of the responsibility. Very, very smart. After all, it's you and I that will be affected by the sanctions. So instead of I making the decision for you, how about you make the decision for you? Fantastic, extraordinary. Now, if they reject the sanctions on Russia, he's going to say to Brussels, hey, you don't have a problem with me actually. You have a problem with Hungarian people. So when you say about democracy and about Hungarian government being this and being that and supporting Putin and so on, this is the will of the Hungarian people. So talk to them, and you talk to them through me. So now what? What are we going to do? Should we push that on the people that don't want that, the sanctions, in case they don't want the sanctions, or what? And that's gonna put the people, the nation, against Brussels weasels, and the Brussels weasels will have to say, well, the Hungarians, oh well, you know what, the poll was conducted with a lot of problems. Probably that's what I'm gonna say, I'm assuming. So let's go and read the article and see what Orban plans to do here. Hungary's governing party said Thursday it wants to poll the country's citizens on whether they support European Union sanctions imposed against Russia over its war in Ukraine. Fidesz plans to call for a national consultation on energy sanctions, which he said had been decided on by the EU's Brussels elite. The party's caucus leader, Markus Kocsis, said at a news conference Thursday following a closed-door meeting. And I'm quoting, the sanctions are causing harm. They are destroying Europe's economy, Kocsis said. And I'm quoting, we have to convince European decision makers, the members of the elite, that they shouldn't maintain the energy sanctions because big problems will come out of it. So they all talk about elites. So are we in a democracy, or that's the elites and we are, what's going on here? So they talk about those guys, those and us. Is that how it works? Of course. That's of course. All right, the poll, which the government calls a national consultation, is an informal survey available to every adult in Hungary, which can be returned by mail or filled out online. Or filled out online. Such surveys, issued several times by the governments of nationalist populist Prime Minister Viktor Orban since he came to power in 2010, have been criticized by pollsters and opposition parties for containing biased and leading questions and for having not binding legal relevance. See, they are dealing not with the results. They already know they're losing. That's why they're saying, and they know they lose. They know what the people want. The problem is they want to impose something on the people that the people don't want. And this is going to be very obvious when the Hungarians are going to say, we don't want that. We want the sanctions lifted. And they're going to say, well, it was the technicality. The technicalities, I know how the surveys work. I know that. Opinion polls, I know how the questions are made. I know how they start with who orders them, who organizes them, what direction, what should be the outcome. And I worked with this. I know what's going on. But what are they going to do? Who's going to make it? Who's going to make these surveys or opinion polls? The opposition parties? Why? Who else? The Americans? Why? Brussels? Why? The French? The Romanians? Who? Who is organizing them? The government, or independent institutions. Is there such a thing, independent institutions? No, there's no such a thing. They all have agendas because they get the money from somewhere and not from you and I. Like NGOs. Yeah, okay. An NGO sponsored and funded by Soros. So, in the news conference, Kocsis acknowledged that the consultation is a political tool which the government can use in its debates with the EU over whether to extend or impose further sanctions against Russia. Yes, it's a political tool because those guys are calling us, they say the leaders, the elected officials and the government of Hungary, as this and that and this and that. He said, no, you know what? Why don't you talk directly to our people and tell them to have a worse standard of living, not have electricity, heating, and tell their kids why they can't buy shoes because they have to pay higher bills and so on, and the inflation. Tell his kids, tell her kids, because it comes from you, not from the Russians. It comes from your sanctions. Not the Russians did not impose sanctions on Hungary or the European Union. The European Union imposed sanctions on themselves, supposedly on Russia, and backfired. Yeah, he said the government would decide on the timing of the survey. Hungary's government has vocally opposed EU sanctions on Moscow, arguing they were doing more damage to European economies than to Russia. True, look at the numbers. Budapest has also refused to supply neighboring Ukraine with weapons or to allow their transfer across its border with the embattled country. Pro-government newspaper Magyar Nemzet on Wednesday reported that Orban, who has for years nurtured a close relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He did with Trump as well, and by the way, he did with the guys from Bosnia and Herzegovina, did with African country, did with some South American countries. So you see, it's not like he is buddy only with Putin. You make it like that. I mean, I can read you an article about Putin and Orban every day. If I'm at the newspaper, I can make one every day. But I don't make others with Orban and other leader, Orban and another leader, another. I just make it with Putin. How many articles do you want I can make? And it looks, look how close he is with Putin. And they meet once a year or 3 years or 5 years. And who said they should meet whenever they say they should meet, the frequency? What is this? Yeah, okay, my interest aligns with Russia at this point. What's your problem? Doesn't mean I support the war or anything. But my people's interest is energy. Russia gives me energy. Do you give me energy? No, then shut up. All right, that's how it is. Oh my, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, don't forget, these guys that are elected for one reason, to make sure the country is prosperous. That's why it's the only reason, to be safe, secure, good standards of living, and people can live their lives better than yesterday, the day before, and so on. To have a brighter future. That's the whole goal. I don't want to live a life that's harder. Do you want to live that? Then you live it. I don't want to. I want to live a better life. That's why I'm working harder and harder and harder. I expect. That's why, you apply for, promotions and so on. You take 2 jobs, you work overtime. Not because you like paying Ukrainians or Biden. You do it for you, for your family, for your society, for taxes, but when you see the taxes are increasing bigger and bigger, you say, I'm not going to work anymore because you take too much taxes and are people who are not working, and you pay for my taxes, those guys. So why should I work? I'm not working anymore. I'm just, like those guys over there. And what am I going to get from you? There must be someone working. Those are going to be called suckers pretty soon, if they're not already for a long time. By many, I know they're called suckers because they live from those guys' taxes. I understand sometimes you have problems, but you can't stay on other people's handouts just because you want. There's work, there's jobs, there are jobs. You don't like it? I don't like my job either, but I do and work, right? I go and work. I'm just saying. It's just, it's hard to work somewhere where you're like this for me, this is not work. This is not work. This is entertainment. I like it. I love talking to you. I love discussing issues. For me, this is not work. I can do this 24/7. I don't need to sleep. I don't need to do anything. That's how much I love this one. But nevertheless, you gotta do that, you gotta do this, and you gotta do everything. If you can, until you die one day. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.